I have so many creative ideas floating around in my head. There are so many directions that I can go. How do I choose? Time is fleeting. I look up and my day is gone. I have not accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. And what about all the boring things? The tedious and dull things I don't want to do, but I know I have to. I'm glad that Betsy Capes is the guest today because I am starting to believe that I'm Salvador Dalí, lost in his own painting. Hi, and welcome, my friends, to Lunch Therapy, Interview Friday.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lunch Therapy. That was Salvador AI. I guess, Salvador Dali has gotten into the machine now, and he's out there. So he's got the same creative problems that we do, though, strangely enough. I have behind me a view from the International Space Station, and sometimes that's how I feel in life. Like I'm floating in space and there's so many different options, there's so many different things that I can do, there's so many different paths that I can take, it's just wide open. And sometimes that can be really exciting, and sometimes that can be really scary, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. And that's why we have Betsy Capes here as our guest today to help us kind of navigate the creative life. We've got people in the back seat of cars. Just Jay Comedian is in the back seat of her car today. Hopefully she's going to get something out of this because she is a stand-up comedian. We've got Guignel, Hoy, Hummingbirds. Great to see everybody here. Lunch Therapy Girl is out there on Twitch. And then, of course, Howard Aronin, the great comedian. Yes, hello, Dolly. It's so good to be here. Let's get into this thing called Lunch Therapy. Interview Friday. I'm gonna get myself a modem. 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 All right, here we are in the Church of Chuckles. This is a space for us to breathe. It's a space for us to pray if we want to. You do whatever you want in here. But the main thing is that we have fun. Because what is life without having fun? I see Jose is here. So good to see you, Jose. Happy Commando Friday. Ginny Sykes. Fantastic. Ginny. So good to see Ginny. Hoy, Ginny. Hi, Jose. Yeah, so this is pretty cool. So I just wanted to mention on the comedy front that I am going to see Beth Lapidus' show today at the El Cid, or tonight. We're going to be experiencing the Uncabaret. Anybody else out there? I don't know if it's sold out, but if anybody else there wants to join us, there's a link in the show notes. There's the poster. Some great comedians are going to be there. This is a little restaurant in Silver Lake. Check it out. This is the Uncabaret. We're going to be having Beth Lapidus on the show in a couple of weeks, right, Boney? Yeah, a couple of weeks. We're going to be having her on there. That show's been running for years, and lots of great comedians. It's a very kind of special comedy show because it's a little bit unorthodox. A lot of people tell stories. There's a lot less, I don't know what there's less. Maybe a lot less.
Bullshit.
Bullshit? That's a good. I like that.
Yeah, probably a lot less bullshit. A lot more funny.
Boss. Thanks, boss, for being here for me.
Yep.
Miss your comedy, Ginny. I don't know. Maybe Ginny Sykes is playing somewhere tonight. Who knows?
Yeah, tell
maybe
us, Ginny.
Ginny. Oh, maybe she'll go with us. That'd be great. Yeah. Link in the show notes. Hoy, Lalitha. Welcome to the Church of Chuckles. Richard Gaddis. Hello, Hummingbirds. HHB. He abbreviates it. All right, let's do this breathing thing. Blas, do you want to come on for some breathing?
Sure.
You coming in? All right. Blas is here with the breathing, and then we're going to get Betsy on the show. There he is. Bloss, how are you feeling? You had vertigo last time.
Yeah, I'm still a little lightheaded. I heard, though, that Todd might have some good information for me. Is that correct?
Todd Lee, one of the hummingbirds who, I don't know if he's around this morning yet, but I'm going to put you in contact with him because he knows all about that stuff.
We'll reach out to him.
Vertigo.
In case anybody doesn't know, last Tuesday I've been suffering from vertigo lately.
Yeah.
And I've never experienced anything like that before, ever. Like
I thought you were I seriously thought you were going to fall off your stool. I was like, get to the doctor. And you're like, no, I can do it. And you're just kind of wobbling over there. The show must go on, though, right? The show must go on.
Absolutely. It's a grand rule. The grand rule of stage and theater.
Yeah.
Right, guys?
That's right.
But I went right after, like you suggested.
Good, I'm glad.
We were right after, and it turns out that everybody knows I'm kind of hype, so my blood pressure is a little high right now, and the doctor assumes that the vertigo is because of that.
Wow.
I've never had it before, never experienced anything like that. That feeling of like uncontrolled equilibrium.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very different for me. But today's my son's birthday.
Oh, right. Yes.
Alexander.
Congratulations,
14.
Alexander.
Yeah, he'll be
reaching
14.
That's awesome.
He's got a concert tonight at 6 o'clock
Yeah.
at school, at Louis Armstrong Middle School. First ever school named after a black jazz artist, our pioneer jazz artist, actually. And after the concert, we're coming back to the house. We're going to have spaghetti. We usually do, long noodles, long life. So we do pancit, chow mein, or spaghetti. I'm going to make my famous meatballs. The girls are coming up from Irvine. We're going to have a blast hanging out with him for his birthday. Play some mahjong for some money.
Sounds good. That's good. We get your daily meal plans on the show a lot, so that's cool. If anybody out there tracking his diet, maybe even has some advice for him because he's got just a little high blood pressure. All right, Richard Gaddis says, I've had vertigo for 3 months now. Maybe he has some tips for you too. Time. Richard Gaddis, by the way, is a wonderful singer. He sings once a month. Well, he sings probably every day, but you can see him once a month. What is the place called again?
Saint and Sinner.
Saint and Sinner.
He's currently looking for new locations. So just stay in touch with the show. We always talk about Richard. We like to promote his show as well as he likes to promote our show. He's one of our talented vocalists.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely great show.
Ginny Sykes likes the long noodles, long life. Brilliant. That's funny. I never heard that.
That's our family tradition.
Okay, let's breathe this thing out. I've got behind me Healing Vibrations. This is their Pursue Your Dreams sound bath. So it's very appropriate today because we got Betsy Capes on, who is she created a system called The Path, where you can create your own path and then kind of reverse engineer it so you can start taking those first steps. The steps of the 1,000-mile journey begins with one step.
1,000-mile journey. I haven't heard that in a while.
All right, let's breathe. So in through the toes, out through the nose. No, wait. In through the nose, out through the toes. I switched it around
Did you
there.
just say it?
I know,
Toes
I
up
did.
through the nose.
Episode 455, and I finally flipped it around. Maybe it's right. Maybe you should try it. Try it. In through the toes, out through the nose. Hold it. This is for you too, Betsy. I hope you're breathing. Let it go.
Ooh, always feels good.
In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. Shake it out. Shake it out. All right, now I'm feeling pretty good. This always centers me.
Yeah, it feels so good.
It helps to have the healing vibrations too. By the way, apparently these sound bowls are very good for tinnitus and other things that might ail you. Maybe even vertigo. Who knows? In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. All right, now we're heading towards the interview. Just going to stop off. We're going to see a couple animals here, and then we're going to find Betsy Capes in her natural habitat. So I'm going to let you go, Blas. Try and, pipe in.
I'll stay
if you
with
want.
Boney.
Pipe in,
Keep things
say
tight.
something. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay, Boney. Let's have a good show.
This is Mocha. She's in Thailand. She is a dog, Jeff Lohman's dog. And I thought, we got to show her on here today because she's been having a problem where there are green flying snakes coming out of the trees in their yard. Jeff had a whole bunch of pictures and he put them on Facebook. And so now he's put Mocha out there to guard against these green snakes. And I think she's a little worried. So there you go. There's Mocha. There's your daily animal. Also, I've got a baby hummingbird in the front yard. A lot of you have been following the nest, the little eggs that have been happening in our front yard. And now it looks like one of the birds flew away. And then this is the other one. He's about ready to fly, I think. So for those of you that have been following that, success, creation, life. And then I have one other question for all out there. I had a hummingbird in my front yard. It was doing this. Maybe somebody out there could tell me what this means, why a hummingbird would be doing this. Are they protecting something? Are they angry? Are they angry birds? I thought maybe it had a broken wing, but then it flew away. And then there's my cat. Maybe it was afraid of my cat. I don't know. But anyway, if anybody knows, let me know in the chat room. But now we are going to get into the interview. So Betsy doesn't know when she's coming on. I keep faking it. But I wanted to just, again, for those of you that might not know Betsy, some of you do. Some of you have taken her workshop. She has a workshop called The Path. That's the one that I took during COVID times, which may still be now. But somewhere in the middle of it, I got into her class called The Path, which is a very, very interesting concept. And it's structured in such a way that you can make your own path, that she doesn't make a path for you. A lot of us, we don't work sometimes in your creative life, you don't work in a place where it's like, oh, and now I'm going to be the boss, and now I'm going to be the boss's boss, and then there's the boss's boss, and there's like a ladder that you climb and you interview and you do all this stuff. A lot of times with the arts, it just seems like it's all over the place. You're interviewing here, maybe you're auditioning there, you're trying to create something here. You get kind of overwhelmed, I think, a lot of times. I think anybody can relate. And then sometimes maybe you feel like you're spinning your wheels, or you're not maybe going after your goals. Like you get a decision, somebody says, hey, let's go do this thing. Let's go do a play. And you're like, I don't know whether that is the best move for me at this time or not. So sometimes creating a path, setting goals is something that you can do so that you can know where you're going. And so we're going to talk to Betsy about that. And let's just see who else is here. Equal means equal. That is a clear picture. Those hummingbirds are dancing with pleasure. Oh, okay. Hopefully that's what was going on. I thought he was angry. All right, let's get into this thing. Now I'm going to bring on Betsy Capes. So without further ado.
Interview Friday with Joel Marshall.
I had a frog in my throat. I think I still do. And there she is. Yay, Betsy Capes. I'm so glad to have you on. How are you doing? Welcome to Lunch Therapy.
Thank you. It's great to be here finally. I know we've been trying to do this for a while.
Yeah. You are probably very, very busy with what you're doing. When I took the class from you, you were just starting to build the online community. And how has that been going?
It's incredible. It's a full-time job. We've had about 1,300 to 1,400 alumni who've gone through my course now in the last, almost 19 years.
Wow.
And, this is the first time we get to have them all together as often as they want to come join. It's been a dream come true of mine to be able to have a home for all the alumni. So it's
Yeah.
a lot of work, but I love it. Yeah.
So let's dial it back here and figure out like how does one become a coach, an artist coach? Like what were your aspirations like when you were really little? What did you want to do?
So I studied theater. I went to University of Illinois and I actually got a degree in acting, but I never wanted to be an actor. I was always more interested in being, and I valued that training. It was fantastic, but I kind of knew that wasn't I wasn't built for that lifestyle. But I really loved the arts. So I got to study it. And then I moved to New York and I was interested in directing. I ended up getting involved in casting and I was on a path I was a casting director, but I was certainly working my way up the ranks at all the major New York theaters in casting. And I loved it. It was awesome. But my favorite part was working one-on-one with actors. And I was audition coaching. I was doing more audition coaching at the time on the side as I was working in casting. And I became just so much more interested in everything but the acting work itself, like all of the other areas of an actor's life that everybody seemed to be struggling with, that 20 years ago felt like they had no idea how to navigate, like what it means to run your own business as a creative. And
I don't think people realize that when they get into the arts that you're going to be running your own business. When people say to me, like people that are in college, like kids, or I don't know what you would call them, kids, I guess, young people,
young adults,
young adults. When young adults say, I want to be an actor. What should I do? I say, major in business because do the acting and maybe double major or something like that. But you'll get yourself a long way if you understand how business works, because business is like, you don't get to work if you don't know how to do the business.
Yeah, and there's just no one way to have a career. Like you were saying at the setup, that, you get a degree in architecture and you kind of can see, or you get a degree in law and you kind of know I want to get into a law firm, work my way up the ranks. There's no one way to do it here. And it's really overwhelming to try and do it by yourself. Like it's impossible. So my heart is like full of compassion and empathy for every artist out there that is doing it. And if I can help you organize your life and sort out what your priorities are and begin to make a plan, it's like we want to use the creativity that you naturally have as an artist, but we also do need to be practical about how you go after your dreams.
Mm-hmm. So when you started coaching people, did they come to you and say, hey, I'd like you to coach me? Or was it at first like in auditioning and then you just realized that you had this talent and you had this ability to help them?
Yeah, I kind of went through the back door. I did not start out. I did not get certified. I have been certified for many, many years, but when I started my business back in 2004, I was really just doing this work and working, like I was feeling it out. I was doing workshops. I was just, thinking about how to best support these artists that seemed lost and, struggling to kind of find their way. And at the time there weren't career coaching, life coaching 20 years ago was it wasn't known. It was a sort of this niche that nobody had really focused much on yet. There was like one other guy and me in New York anyway. And there were certainly, in Hollywood, there have been many life coaches for artists, but compared to now when everybody's doing it, it's back then, this was an unknown field, and it really, most people didn't understand, how do I figure out how to have a career as an actor, as a writer. I work with a lot of writers now too. So
that's wild. Also, I think sometimes people are embarrassed about having a coach. You know what I mean? Like they don't talk
there's
about
a lot
it.
of
When they
don't.
get their awards, they don't talk about their coaches a lot of times, or when they're on a talk show or something, they don't talk about it because it's almost like, I don't know, like they want to act like they did it all themselves or something. I don't know what it is.
I think there's a sort of a fear of like being somebody who needs, like asking for help. There's some shame around that. which is something we work on in the class a lot, because I think there's no shame. I've interviewed so many, I did a series on one of my other courses where I interviewed a bunch of celebrities, and every single one of them had to ask for help in order to get to where they were going. It's a natural part.
Why is it so painful to ask for help? I mean, I struggle with that. I totally struggle with that. Why is it so painful for people?
I think because it means you have to sort of live in the land of not knowing the answers and not knowing, and I love that space. That's like my most, because if we can accept that, like, oh, I don't have all the answers, and I don't have all the answers as your coach, but I certainly can, I get excited to have that conversation and help you get to a place of clarity within yourself, and it's amazing because a lot of people now are much more open about, they talk about their coaches and they own it and they're proud of it. And I think it's something to own and be proud of, but it does have it's like therapy. It's a very intimate relationship, and it's private, and it requires a lot of vulnerability to, invest in asking for help and support. But think about every other, like athletes have no problem working with it's built into that lifestyle.
Also, when you listen to people, like you read books that are people that are coaches for industry, a lot of CEOs come to these people for help.
Oh yeah, they're all over
you would think since they're the CEO, they would be the one who knows everything, because they are at the top of the heap. But they're like, looking for something else. Like I'm reading this book I think it's called The Big Leap, where, you know what I mean? Where it's like these CEOs are trying to leap to another level. And I think it's so interesting. What were some of your inspirations as a coach, books or people that mentored you or maybe just inspired you through their books or speeches?
So, I mean, this is so funny. When I first started out, and I did a Tony Robbins workshop, and that just like fired me up and kind of got me into this mindset of like, I can do anything. What is it that I want to do? And, but I ended up working with a coach, and she was my real inspiration. And she was really, and still is, the one that I just have so much respect for her process. And again, when you work with a coach for so many years, it's a very special relationship, and it's one where they kind of know you, they know your blind spots, you've confided in them, and it's a real privilege to kind of be on the journey with them. And I felt that way about my coach. She was, coaching me the day before I got married. We did an amazing visualization on my wedding day. She, I remember right before one of my biggest workshops that I was leading in the very beginning of my business, her name's Maggie. I got on the phone with her. I was like, Maggie, what if I don't do, what if it doesn't go well? I'm so worried. She said, this is not about you. Stop thinking it. Like, it was so great. It was wonderful. It was exactly what I needed to hear, that it's all about them. Focus on them. And I did. And it rocked, and it was great. And I just find that we all need to step outside of ourselves. We all need to find people who can help us look at ourselves from another perspective and kind of dig into the muck of wherever we're feeling stuck.
You know how sometimes you can look at somebody and just be like, oh, this is obviously the thing that's getting in their way.
Yeah.
How do you refrain from just saying it? Look, you're in your own way because of this. Is it difficult to relate that to a person and then get them to work on it without insulting them or making them run away?
No, I feel like if you've, chosen to invest in coaching or take a course, like take one of my courses, that tells me you're ready to do the work and you're ready to kind of look at whatever it is that's just too hard to figure out on your own. So I feel like that is my job, and I'm a really nice person. People feel like, I'm like, I think I just have this quality of warmth and ease that helps people feel more comfortable, not feeling judged, because I'm really not judging you. Like, everybody comes into coaching with their stuff, and we're here to work through it without judgment. Like, this is a safe space for that. And it's very hard to come by that in most of our relationships. It's very hard to put aside, oh God, what are they thinking? Oh, this person's invested in me doing XYZ. It's one of my favorite things about being a coach is that I'm invested in supporting you, but I'm not, it's not about me. I'm not a part of it. I'm here just to champion you and help you get clear.
Jose in the
So
chat room says, I still have trouble asking for help and accepting my limits. Do you talk about this thing in the class called eating a frog? Is that what it's called? Eating a frog? Can you tell us just a little bit about that?
Yeah. So this is in the space of dealing with procrastination. Mark Twain has this famous quote, first thing in the morning, eat a frog and nothing worse will happen to you the rest of the day. I might be paraphrasing a bit. So we've taken that to really help creatives, especially because I think a lot of creatives struggle with time management and organization and figuring out how to do your day when you have an open schedule. And so we call it eating a frog, doing the hardest thing first, like whatever is on your list, like eat that frog first thing in the morning, do that hard thing. And we even in our community online, we have frog cafes now where our alumni gather and we all just eat frogs together from like 12 to 12:30 every Monday and Thursday. And it's so cool to see everybody. It's so easy. It's just all you need to do is be in community and know that other people are doing hard things, and you can write that email you've been putting off, or make that phone call, or do your meditation if you've been talking about it but not doing it forever. Things like that.
Do you think that there's a sense of isolation in the arts? Like you're on your path, and maybe your path, a lot of times your path is different than the other people even around you, the other people in your same profession. So do you think there's a certain loneliness about that?
Completely. And I think it's been exacerbated big time with the pandemic. That was a real knock for most creatives. And for some people, it was a positive experience. But I didn't expect, business kind of boomed for me during the pandemic in a way that I wasn't ready for. I just had a baby. I can't remember if I had my
So
baby when you were.
Just had your baby. Just had your
Yeah,
baby.
at least she's 3.5 now. But so you were in one of the pandemic groups. The isolation is probably one of the most challenging pieces of being an artist. And it's isolation, but it's also isolation with people whose deep drive and value is community. So, you can get a show, book a job, and feel like this amazing sense of community, or be on set for a film, or go do a night of stand up and feel like a real part of something. And then you just go home and you're by yourself.
There's like a drop off, right? I mean, I find that I go through like this cycle, you're anticipating something, you've got a lot of anxiety about it. I'm nervous about it or whatever. Then it happens, and then you work on a very intense activity, and then it happens, and then you feel good for like a little while, and then the next day there's kind of a drop off. Like even if there's something coming up next, you just have to kind of regroup a little bit, and that's a very kind of isolating kind of thing, because I don't think everybody understands that exactly. Even myself, I don't understand it, why it would be like that.
Well, and I think there's this mindset or this myth that you're only working when you're doing a show or on stage, right? So that's I'm only working, and everybody's probably wondering when you're going to work next. Like part of being an artist, a creative, an actor, a writer, whatever, the downtime is just as important as when you get the job. And if you can know how to use that time well and have a plan for it, and a plan that works for you, not just somebody else's plan. And that's what the course is really about, helping you design it so that you have some sense of control in an industry that doesn't give you much at all of that.
Wow. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about goal setting here. So what we're talking about essentially a lot of times is setting goals for ourselves, because the goals are not there for us. They're not already structured. There's not already you're going to move up this hierarchy and this is the way it's done, even though many people have come before us. But also there is a constantly changing landscape in the media industry, at least. So your goal at one point might have been to get on a sitcom or been on a network show. And now it's a completely different thing. You might still have that goal, but now you have these other ones. So how do you go about helping people find their goals, and how do you limit them? or do you limit them?
So, I've coined this term called multi-goal syndrome. Remember when that from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
course, kind of wanting to do it all without a tangible plan for how to move forward in any one
Yeah.
direction. And it's really common, and I don't fault anyone if that resonates for you. That means you have a lot of skills and a lot of talents, and you like to do many things. And I think that is great. I don't want you to stop that, but I do think it's worth looking at which ones are most important to prioritize. And when I say prioritize, I mean, where do you really need to see growth and progress, like in the next, I don't know, 3, 6, 9, 12 months? The course is a year, and we do this reverse engineering practice. It's a year-long goal that you set, and as we talked about, reverse engineer it.
Mm-hmm.
But depending on where you're at with goal setting, it might just be that you set a goal for the next month, and you say, okay, in the next month, this is what's most important for me to accomplish for my acting career, for my my comedy career, and within that, there might be 3 or 4 things that need attention. And so we call those tracks. And in the course, we recommend no more than 4 tracks. Otherwise, you start to get into that state of overwhelm and multi-goal syndrome where you're just like, I want all these things, but I have no idea how to manage them. I would so much rather you have less goals, but more focus and clarity than trying to do it all at once. So we help you get clear and organize it. And it's very personal. It's very specific to you.
I think for me, the most difficult thing, because I have this like calendar and I put goals in it, is when you don't accomplish the goal and then you kind of have to move it to the next thing. It starts to, how do you keep from beating yourself up when, maybe you don't achieve the thing that you set out to do?
So I want to clarify one thing that is a common misconception is we tend to collapse goals and actions into being the same thing, like a thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't consider that thing to do on your to-do list a goal. I feel like the to-do list are the things to do to get you to that bigger goal. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we want the goal to be more of the outcome, what you're doing all these things for, versus like, I have a goal I got 10 goals today to do all these things. No, you've got 10 actions that you want to get done. And what's the point of them? When you do all of them, what do we hope happens? Oh, you finished a first draft of your screenplay. Okay, great. Then that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to separate that out because I think it's easy to feel the weight of all those actions as goals. And then if you don't do them on time, then you feel like you failed, which is what I think
that's what I'm referring to, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think I'm like, the name of the game is course correction for me. It is not about I set this goal and I have to get it exactly when I said I was going to get it. Mm-hmm. I always say that the map is not the terrain. We want you to make a map, to set a goal, to make a plan for that goal. Here's how I plan to go after it. These are all the things I can think of to do. And then to brainstorm with other people, because you don't have it's not fair to expect you to know all the answers.
That's such a good point. So, yeah. Because a lot of times, as actors, as actors, we don't have all the information. Like a lot of times the information about the projects that we want, we're not even privy to that information at all. So it feels like we're kind of blindly stabbing in the dark, So I guess that's probably the benefit of having a community of people, is that they can get a little information here and there, and you can all take your pieces and see if you can make the puzzle.
But I think and having a system, having a process that you can fall back on, that is like, here's how I set the goal, and here's what I do to work toward the goal. And here are my rituals for checking in. And here's what I do if I don't get the goal on time. So, we meet in the community every week, and we have a weekly meeting, and everybody comes and we review the last week and we set up the next week. And I'm there coaching everybody through it. And we do a monthly meeting where we look at your monthly goals. And I have a very specific process that is, I've been doing it for, decades now, and it just works, to help you stay out of your way so you don't get caught in that inner critic, negative self-talk space of like, oh, you said you do this and you didn't do it. Well, what did you do? What can you do? What did get accomplished, and what can we learn from what did or didn't happen?
And then also in the community, is there a tendency to support one another? Because sometimes somebody will be wildly successful, and then the other ones will feel like, oh, I'm not really doing it. How does one keep their mind right in that kind of atmosphere? I mean, obviously we have to be grateful, we have to be supportive of one another, but how does the community help to support that kind of a situation?
I think I call it compare and despair. I think it's a dangerous place to go, and I think that it's very easy, especially with social media now, like constantly having everybody's
Because you're
business
seeing all
in
the
your
good
face.
stuff, all the cream of the life, and they're not seeing all
Yeah,
the crap people are going through. Yeah.
I am. I'm seeing that one at a time every day with everyone, and it, and it's real. Like, I don't
Yeah.
care how great everything looks. Everybody's got problems. Everybody's struggling, and
Everybody.
it's actually when you get the goal, you'd be so surprised how many people. It's like, oh, all I want is to get on the show. I want to get the agent. You know how many people get it, and they're still. It doesn't
Yeah,
solve
because you
your
have those
problem.
people. You see all the spectrum. You've had lots of people that have had huge success with your work. Yes. Do you see that with them? Do they have that same next day after the show kind of,
There,
down
it's just,
time?
yeah, everybody has something, and
Yeah.
nobody is immune to the disappointments of this industry and of life. It's like you can have, I think that what's most important is to really check yourself in terms of mindset and have tools to support you to stay grounded and regulated so that you don't spin out. And I think it's just so easy. And there's a lot of pressure when you do start getting your goals, and you finally get there. And then there's a pressure. Oh God, there's a lot of imposter syndrome. Will I be able to maintain this? What if they figure me out? All of that. And so I see that just as much with the people who have, you would never imagine, and it doesn't go away. It doesn't stop. It's
Plus,
just different.
also, there are more people that have input into what you're doing as well. And that sometimes you're trying to deal with people's input is very difficult. Trying to please everybody, but also sometimes they can say things that are just painful.
Well, yeah, now you've got everybody commenting on your career. You're more a public figure. You've got to manage a lot more out there. It doesn't mean it gets easier. It just means there's different problems, different
Yeah.
issues. So all the more reason to have a safe space to process everything.
Yeah. I want to talk about, just one second here. I want to talk about time management and how we can, not let the day get away from us, How do you do that? How do you deal with like the hours of the day? Because we only have so many hours of the day, and it seems like I know Salvador AI was saying that at the beginning of the show, that the time just flies,
Yeah, I just put a blog out on this yesterday. I think I think that the key to time management is understanding your own specific time management issues. Like, what are your blocks? Are you somebody who takes on way too many things in one day and you're constantly spinning and never feeling like you're getting it done? Are you somebody with too much time and you don't know where to focus, how to be productive? I think that, a lot of us are juggling other jobs, like, whatever you do to make money and grow your career. And those things don't always intersect and become the one thing. And so how do you manage that when you're spending all day making money, supporting your family, doing XYZ, and then coming home at night or trying to find hours in the morning to write or to work or rehearse? It's a real puzzle, and it's a very individualized experience. So the more you can become an expert on your own issues with time management, the more successful you're going to be with overcoming those. I don't know if that's enough of an answer for you, but I think it does come down to, is the frog thing, or, if you heard us talking about frogs and you're like, oh God, I've got like 80,000, then okay, procrastination is where it's at. And we got to look at that more closely,
I remember somebody saying to me that not having enough time is indecision. Thought that was interesting.
Like that.
Yeah.
I think that, I look at some people who really have a lot of different pressures and things on their plates, like I work with a lot of moms who are parenting and working big careers. And I think that you can do it. You just have to be very creative, and you have to be clear with yourself about your priorities and know your limits. I think we're talking about limits a lot today. Like, know what's too much for you, know your bandwidth,
Do you feel like that when people set their goals? Like maybe they sometimes set just an incredibly successful goal that happens a year from now, and it just doesn't seem like there's enough time to even get to that. Do you allow people to? I mean, because people are making their own paths. So if somebody says, I want to be the all-being master of time, space, and dimension, do you say, I don't know, if maybe you ought to start with just time management and see if you can get through your day, or
Well,
whatever.
I'd say, what do you mean by that? Like, let's remember Smarty. Let's make that, what specifically do you mean? Let's make that measurable. And we're talking about what feels achievable. And when setting an achievable goal means really, what do you think is possible based on the information that you have right now and what you know about yourself and that specific area of your life or career. So if, I'm not going to stop anybody from setting any goal they want. I'm not here to judge them. I've seen goals get reached that I couldn't fathom for certain people. Yeah. And I've also seen the most brilliant, talented artists not reach goals that I couldn't imagine them not being able to get because of life circumstances, outside things happen, right? Anything can play in. So I always say this, I'm not the goal guru. I'm not here to tell you what it is. I'm here to help you become an expert in how to shape goals for yourself so that you can have that clarity every time you say, what's next? Now, what am I going to go for? We want you to be honest with yourself and be real and say, okay, what would be progress? And if being master of the universe, whatever it is, okay, but what do you actually
How is it measurable? I love that thought too, of it has to be measurable. And how do people use specific tools in your programs or anything like that in your program? Like, is there some kind of specific thing that you have people use?
For goal setting, you mean? Or
for
just
goal setting and for tracking their tasks and for moving the tasks on to the next day. I find that I use this thing called Trello, which is kind of useful because it comes in columns, and your system is in columns. So it seems to work pretty well because you can move things back and forth. But what do you use? What do you recommend?
I use Asana. That's what I have.
Asana, that's like that too.
Yeah, there's a lot of programs like that. And I really encourage people to find the right one for your brain because everybody's brains are different. Some people need more visual. Some people really like to do Google spreadsheets and go to town with those. Great, have fun. I've seen people build their entire path in a Google Doc. I think that's awesome. We provide the specific structure and worksheets, and then we encourage you to kind of figure out what's the best way for these to live. I have some people who love to handwrite still, and I think that's great. So they make a book, they make it, and you can track it that way. Some people love to use Evernote. I've seen everything. It's really about how you, what's going to get you, what are you going to be in habit with?
Do you think people's minds are radically different as far as the way they conceptualize things and the way they plan things? I find that for myself, because a lot of times I'll help people with their technology, and I know some people, they need a list. They need steps 1 through 10, and those steps can never change. And then other people, they just kind of get the logic of the thing. They don't want to know all the details of it. They just want to get the logic of the thing and then just dive in. And so it's different people have different methods. I noticed that about learning lines too. People have different methods about learning lines. So how do you deal with all the different types of brains that are out there?
I think it's the same way you go to a clothing store. There are different clothes for different bodies, and we're all in different shapes and sizes, and so are our brains, and so are the way we think about things. And so that is the key to really getting to know what do I need? What do I respond to when it comes to list making? Or no, I don't want to make a list. I want to say it all into a recorder on my phone, and that's what I'll do because I'd rather walk around and do it that way. You know? I don't think there's one way to do it, and I designed this course so that anything could work. Any system that any way of tracking can work within the system I teach.
So you don't necessarily say, do it this way, but you give them the framework and say, however you want to manage this, these are the things that we're going to be looking at. What about the, so you've got, let's say, 4 different things that you're pursuing. If you have a day job, does one of them have to be that day job? No. So where would that fit in? I mean, how does that work?
So I really think the goals on your path need to be the things that you want, that can't wait another year, that need to happen in this upcoming year.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't need to include the things you're already doing. So, for example, like private coaching for my business has been a pretty steady thing for a number of years. So I don't set goals for the private coaching side of my business, but I have been growing my community and growing my course because I just created this, on-demand version. So all of my energy is going over there because that's what I'm growing. I'm still coaching all the time. I don't need to ramp that up. I don't need to see anything change because it's going well. If you've got a day job and all is well over there, and that's not an area to see growth in, then you don't need to set goals in that area. We want to really look at what can't wait another year. What is like the most exciting
That's a
thing?
good point. Very, very good
Floss.
point.
Very good.
You like that? You like
Floss
that?
came in there.
I do.
You
I
came
like
in there.
it.
You're coming in
It's
there
hard to
hot. You're loud, man. But yeah, it's
Oh,
good.
I'm so
I
sorry.
like it. I like it. All right. So now we're going to get into the therapy portion of the show. We're just going to talk about you a little bit.
Okay.
So what I'd like to know is what kind of personal obstacles have you overcome in your life, and how have you implemented this technique in your own life? It sounds like a job interview, but I really want to know how it is for you.
Well, I mean, I would say I can tell you like a current one, and I can tell you one from like the way past. Which one do you
Great.
want? I can tell you both.
I'd like both. I'd like to start with the one in the way past and then maybe the current one.
So I thought I wanted to be a director for theater, and I was pursuing my master. I was applying to go to grad school for an MFA in directing, and I got really far at Yale. I was like in the final round of like they take two
Wow.
people, and I made it for like like one of the last hurdles, and I was feeling so good, and I was like, this is it. I can feel it. I like was already in my head living in New Haven. Like I had the whole thing mapped out. And I, it's so interesting because I haven't thought about this in so long. But I remember I had to like make a bold choice. I had to direct a scene. They gave me some actors and I had to direct a scene. I don't even remember what the scene was, but I remember I made a really bold choice to like use Sinatra. I like used Sinatra music in a period piece that was not related to Sinatra, but I had this whole concept and I had this whole thing, and it just bombed. Like it didn't work. I thought I was going in and I thought I was gonna do something magical. I this was so long ago, and I had never had that experience before where it just did not work. And they were like, why did you do that? It was one of these experiences. And I remember being on the train home, like
As
going
actors,
back on
we
the
have that
train.
experience all the time. You know what I mean? Like
I
all the
know,
time.
but I didn't. I know.
Like, here I am, today I'm doing this thing and it's great. And you had it in your mind, they're just going to love it. Same as with comedians. You think they're going to love it. And then it's just like,
and I was like, what was I thinking? It wasn't just like it didn't work. They were critical. It was like the final round. They like it was really, they were harsh, and it was awful. And in my mind, I blew it. And I remember calling a mentor of mine on the train home, and I was so embarrassed and so full of shame because I'd gotten this far and my family was ready for it. Like everybody thought it was happening.
Yeah.
And I knew it wasn't. And when I look back at that, I ended up really having to like do some deep soul searching. And I had always been drawn to drama therapy. When I was in college, studying acting, I had a teacher who took us through some drama therapy exercises. And I remember when when I was in those classes, I was like, this is wow, like this is what it is, for me, like drama and therapy and boom, and I ended up like looking into drama therapy programs, and I got into NYU's drama therapy program.
Really?
And I started that program at the same time I started my business, my coaching business. They were happening simultaneously, and I loved doing both of them, but I had to make a decision because my business started to really take off, and I felt like, oh, this is special. This is, going well. So I put the drama therapy thing on hold, but I've found other ways. I've used it in my coaching a lot, and I'm just a huge fan of drama therapy. I think it's brilliant.
It's cool.
But I look at that. I look at that whole experience of like, I coach a lot of directors who got their MFAs, who are coming to me to help figure out how to. I mean, think about how hard it is to get a job acting. How many directors
There's only
are there?
one.
There's one. It's so hard to be a working director,
Yeah.
and even when you do it,
And
it's not
even
making
working
money.
your way up, it's like you can't. It's hard to be like a second AD and then a first AD. They're just like, if you're good at a second AD, they're like, okay, you should be a second AD. It's not like a stepping stone. You know what I mean? It's like
No.
the
So I
path
look at
is very
that.
difficult. Yeah.
And that wasn't meant to be my path. And, they helped me. I mean, I guess in an alternative universe, I guess I could be a director talking to you right now. But I feel like I took all the strengths and skills I had that I was putting into directing, and they've come into like running a business and being able to be a leader in different ways. And I wouldn't change when I think about what I built with my company.
Yeah.
And the fact that like none of this would be here if I was doing that, it's almost like hard to even like I can't even imagine it. So
Yeah.
that's the old time, the long
That's
time
a good
ago.
one. That's a good one. All right, let's hear the new one.
So I have two little children. I have a 3-year-old and a 10-year-old, and
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie, it's like really hard to be a working mom. And my husband has a job now where he's traveling a lot more. So I feel like one of the biggest challenges that I'm up against right now is how to be present with what's in front of me when I'm, doing my business and when I'm parenting. I feel very much pulled to the other one whenever I'm doing the thing I'm doing. And
Absolutely.
I coach a lot of parents, and that's something that I'm very sensitive to and interested in helping support each other. Community is so important for that type of a situation. So, yeah.
That's great. So people that want to get involved with your community, do they go to capesco.com? Is that where they should start, or how do they begin?
You can go to thecreativepath.capesco.com.
I'm going to get it on the screen here. .com. Okay, I'm getting there, and I'm going to bring us to a place here where we can take a look at it.
Help them out, Boney.
Boney, could you? I don't know what he's doing.
Can you see it?
There we go. Okay. Oh, wait, that's not it, Boney. Could you do something a little different? How about? Yeah, that's
there
it.
it
Thanks.
is.
Thank you. He was on it. Okay, so this is it. The Creative Path, capesco.com.
Yeah.
And then let's see. So let me just go. I'm going to put this in I don't know what's happening. Boney, could you put that on the screen too? Can you tell us, so what would they do to get involved with that?
So there are two different ways to do, and with the course you get what's great about the course, which is different from when you took it, is that it's on demand. It's 50 plus videos of me walking you through the entire course. And this is not for the faint-hearted. This is serious. Yeah, it's serious work. It's a commitment. This is not a quickie, figure it all out in a couple videos. We go deep, and we ask you to really do some deep diving in terms of looking at your life and what you're looking to accomplish. And
not an easy fix.
Not an easy fix, but worth it.
And that's why I walk you through it. I walk you step by step, and it's a reverse engineering process so that we start with the big vision. I think if you keep scrolling down a little bit, you can actually see the breakdown of after Lennon there.
Here's some of these testimonials. Yeah, this is cool. Oh, here's the breakdown. Cool.
So we start with your big vision, and then you get focused, and that's what you're talking about in terms of how many limits, how many things can I go after, selecting your tracks, and then we help you build your 1-year goals for all of your tracks. That's the foundation. You have this path map, and this is your roadmap, and from there you build the monthly goals, how you're going to really work towards your 1-year goals 1 month at a time. We teach you our weekly and daily planning process, how to adjust and course correct when things don't go the way you planned, which is, by the way, most of the time. So we have a whole process for that. And then you see module 9, after we kind of give you the system, which is that middle meaty section of the course, it's all support. We want creating days that make you proud. That's where we get deeper into the procrastination with frogs and time management and habits, how to build habits that can support you. Mindset, remember the inner critic, inner coach work that we do in the course. And then networking, how to actually talk to other people about your business and what you're doing. And we wrap it all up. It's just all about how to like hold the big vision and have your daily actions in true alignment with what you really want at the end of the day. So that's the course in a nutshell. And
is that the year?
Is
that the year course?
It's not a year course. We consider it to be about 10. It's how many modules? I think we're looking at 12 modules. Mm-hmm. And we say over about 10 weeks is what I would get. But you can do it all on your own time. Some people go through it in 3 weeks because they're crazy and they're like, boom, 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 boom. Some people space it out and just like to do it. I recommend one module a week, and it's pretty intense. And so I would say like around 2 to 3 months it takes to move through the videos. But once you're in it, you're in the community with us also. So you can come to a Q&A with me. You can get support from our other alumni and other students. You're really not alone. It's a unique online course in that way that you can do it on your own time. You can do it in your pajamas, watch the videos whenever you want, but you can come check in with us at any point in the community, which is really special.
I think that's huge, Joel. That's huge, but because programs like these, when you get to that heavy chunk, like the middle towards the last run, the stretch, that's when people start to fail to me, because you plan all these things and then executing the plan is where people start to fail. You know what I mean? Like executing it. And if you have support like that, she says, and if you look at it more like it's 12 modules, 12 weeks, then you kind of space it out. Even if you need to take a little bit longer, at least you still you're on that journey to completing it, and you have the support to complete it, because a lot of times people plan, and then don't execute.
Well, the hardest part too also is sometimes when you're doing this kind of work, you have a feeling of like, oh, I'm not living the dream. I'm not writing my comedy. I'm not outperforming. Right? I'm doing the work. But you have to get your mind to understand that this is the work. Even the eating the frogs, even the setting up your Excel spreadsheet or whatever. And also, as a comedian, you can get some comedy out of that experience anyway, because it's a real life experience. Even going to the DMV or whatever you do as a comedian or a writer, whatever you experience is part of the work.
Yeah, same with acting. Like, I have this theory where the actors that don't live life don't have experiences to go on.
Yeah.
So you have to live that journey. You have to live that life in order to experience life, and that adapts to your art form.
Yep. All right. Well, this has been great. I think we're going to have to end it because we're at the hour, but this has been really fantastic having you on the show.
Really nice. Betsy. Really nice.
Well, I want to also give, thank you.
Yeah.
That's great clapping. If any of your listeners want a discount, I'm more than happy to give you guys a code. I can't say, I know your thing lives on your thing forever. It won't be available forever, but goals 23, they can put in and save $300. So if that's something that you want to offer, we're happy to offer that.
And you let us know how long you want that code to last, because we could post the code.
Take it off.
We could post it as long as you want us to post it, or put a deadline on it.
Yeah.
That
so
sounds great.
The discount code.
There you go.
All right, so I want to copy that for the end too. Or Boney, can you get that on the end card too? Yeah, this is very technical over here. I don't know how it all works, actually. Thank God for Boney, because what would I do? Now we're going to do the dance break. So I got a great dance break here. This is one of the guests that was on our show, Mike Massey. He's this incredible musician, and he's playing some Simon and Garfunkel, which who doesn't like Simon and Garfunkel, right? So dance break. Thanks so much for being on the show. Thanks for everybody
for having me.
You're welcome. And I hope that you'll come back again soon. Yeah. And let's dance it out.
Great.
All right, here he is, Mike Massey. Actually, the names are reversed on the screen. Mike is on the right.
I am just a poor boy,
Sterling's
my
on the left.
story's seldom told. I have squandered my resistance for a pocket full of mumbles, such are promises. All lies and jest, still a man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest.
It's not like a super like dancey song, but
I left my home and
Good
my
song,
for the heart.
family. I was no more than a boy in the company of strangers, in the quiet of the railway station, running scared.
Simon and Garfunkel.
Laying low,
Simon and
seeking
Garfunkel,
out
yes.
the
It looked
poorer
just
quarters
like-
where the ragged people go, looking
see it.
for the
Let's see what the chat room
places
says.
only they would know.
All right, Julia. Whoa.
Lie, lie, lie,
Great conversation.
lie, 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 lie.
Todd Lee says Joel does really well with criticism. Try it out.
I love that they went black and white.
Asking only workmen's wages, I come looking for a job, but I get no offers. Just to come on from the horizon, 7th
Oh my
Avenue.
God. Come on, guys. Get with the program.
I do declare there were
This is a
times
daytime
when I
show.
was so lonesome I took some comfort there. La, 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 la.
All right. Okay, you can go to Mike Massey's YouTube channel. I mean, it's huge. It's enormous. He's got so many great cover songs on there. Highly recommend it. We're going to put the special code in the show notes for Betsy Capes' Path program.
Limited
And
time.
limited time
So
only.
You guys, jump on it while you can.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for being here. This has been Lunch Therapy 455.
In your social media too. Our link, our show. That way, some people will know more about the code too. Good show, Betsy. Very nice.
Great
Thank
show.
you. Bye, everybody.